Well, happy Sunday, everyone. I'm making this video out on the Hennepin Canal, and I'm going to show you some of the interesting features of it. Now I'm going to spin you around. That view is looking towards Lock 15 in the near distance, towards Lock 14 in the far distance. Kind of gives you a little idea of the elevation change. Right here I'm at Lock 16, where the lock doors are still in place, and you can see how they would have went. The locking mechanisms are the levers, and it would lock the doors in place by pushing those down. This here is the bar and the opening mechanism for the doors. You can see a little bit more of it over there. They would have been hand cranked to open them. You could still see the gears and that, and there would have been cables running along the wheels, and would have hooked onto that hook at the end of the large beam, and they would have hand cranked these doors open, and the guy would have walked out to operate the levers to lock the doors in place or to unlock them. This was built in the late 1800s, 19th century, so your barges that would have been going through wood here wouldn't have been very long. You know, the use would have been in the early 20th century. Barge traffic wouldn't have been very big. It's maybe 100 foot or so in length. Still have the moorings where the barges would have tied off while they're sitting in the lock, as it's either being raised or lowered, depending on which way they were going. Now this part was added later, the spillway in that. The doors would have been removed, and this was just added to here. It would have been a little different looking along the indentation. So this concrete abutment was added later, but you could see the angle in that concrete in the corner. Use my hand. The doors were kind of set like that at an angle, and to open them they would operate them so they laid down. The barge would come through right over it into the lock. Of course, the lock would have been filled to equal the water level here in this pool. Actually, there's quite a bit more water in here than normal, but as you can tell, because of all the driftwood and everything, many years, quite some years ago, it formed a breach down there at the bottom through successive, mostly because of the winter, you get water freeze and thaw, and eventually probably got some kind of tree or something, driftwood coming along, and it just punched a hole big enough, and it's just slowly eroded and rotted away. But surprisingly, there's more water here in this pool than what normally is. It looks about, I can't really see it. It is kind of stained, but it'll probably be waist deep now. but normally it's just a ditch. Water flow is probably even, you know, knee height, so you can definitely walk across it. This is Lock 16 on the Hennepin Canal State Park Trail. Cable here is just to hold up the wall they created there. I would kind of give you an idea of the different level changes. 14 way in the distance. The pool of between 14 and 15. Then you got 15, the pool in between 15, 16, lock 16. Going up that way towards lock 17. And I don't know if I can zoom in.
Yeah, there you go. But if you look closely, the height of that spillway going over is the height of the next pool up. So you got quite a bit of
elevation changes here. Take you across the footbridge. Get a better look at the mechanism over here. The canal was conceived, designed, and built in the mid to the late 19th century. So here's a closer view of the opening mechanism. The wheel, so the cable would have been hooked on there, went around your wheels to the hook over there, and there would have been a large, almost moves, a bar on this each side, and they would have hand cranked it to open the doors to let the barge either exit or enter the lock. And of course, pretty much, probably in some sections, most sections, one, of course your barge ain't going to be very wide either, so you'd probably be able to have one passing the other, you know, one going one way, the other going the other way. But yeah, so this is Lock 16 on the Hennepin Canal. Kind of giving y'all an idea of some of the features of it. Now how they would have filled it would be down here. If I remember right, there would have been probably doors on the sides up here, and the water would have flowed down through here. They would have opened some kind of door down there or something to let the water in, to raise the level of the lock. And then there would have been one, probably one down here, one or two. I'm going to assume it probably would have been one down at this end. We'll work our way down. Mechanism ain't here no more probably, but there would have been some way, and the water would have went under the lock wall, and it would have came out over there. You can still see the, so these are the steps at the end, the medallion, elevation above sea level. I don't know if we can read this. Nah.
It's been scratched out. I would have been right there telling you the exact elevation. $250 fine for removing that marker back in the day.
All the doors look from this side. Of course, its landscape has changed a lot in the intervening decades since it was actually last used in the, am I right, the 50s or 60s. Till it just wasn't making money, and then the state took over and turned it into a state park. But so I hope you all enjoyed the tour of Lock 16 on the Hennepin Canal.